Hi guys, so today's video is going to be a list of some books that got some cover changes, and I actually feel like the old covers were better. I will be doing a part 2 to this where I talk about some really good cover changes, but I wanted to start with a negative and end on a positive. And of course, what we like in covers is different from person to person, so please feel free if you disagree to let me know, or if you want to mention some other covers that you think maybe didn't get the best cover changes. I would love to know which ones you aren't the biggest fan of. But anyway, jumping into it, the first one that I'm going to start off with is actually a cover change that occurred from hardback to paperback, which I'll go into that in just a second because that in and of itself I have thoughts on. But the book itself would be The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. The original cover to this one, it's maybe not the most stunning cover I've ever seen. It's maybe not the most beautiful, but I do feel like it has an elegance in its simplicity, and I do think that it's eye-catching in its elegance, which I really, really like. It's simple, but it's pretty. The cover that I have seen on the paperbacks, I am not really the biggest fan of. I don't hate the cover. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with it, but I just thought the other one was a lot nicer, it was sleeker, and then this one to me, it's weirdly more generic than the other one, even though there was, I think, less going on in the first one. There's more texture, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and I don't like it. I liked the other one. I don't know why they switched it, which I'm gonna go off on a little rant for a second. Well, it's not a rant because I don't always hate it, but I don't like when, for those of us that like paperbacks more than hardbacks, which I like both. My favorites are floppy paperbacks, but that's irrelevant. But for people who like paperbacks better, with the hardback, you might see it and be like, wow, that's such a beautiful cover. I can't wait till it comes out for paperback, whether that's because of the price or storage or you just like the feel of it, whatever. But then when the cover is totally different, going from hardback to paperback to where it's not even the same, and sometimes you run into the issue of then the hardbacks are really hard to find. Maybe if you're involved in the publishing industry, you can explain to me why they would take a perfectly good cover and then take it away for a more generic one on the paperback. I promise that not all of these are going to be cover changes from hardbacks to paperbacks, but I am going to stick with that for this next one, and that would be The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Now, I am biased in that I love white covers. I like the smokiness to the cover with these little pops of color. I just think it looks amazing. I think it's a great way to have maybe a little more going on in the cover without it feeling too busy. And then the paperback just gets like this slap of color on it. And granted, I've seen pictures where people actually have them, and I bet they're gonna look pretty cool on the shelf when they're all lined up. And I'm not opposed to colorful covers. Like, I love the UK Strange the Dreamer. Oh man, so beautiful. But I just don't know why they did that. And maybe if you own both, it'll look pretty cool to have the white covers and then to have the other ones. But again, not everybody wants multiple editions. Not everybody wants to have the cover change when the paperbacks are released. And I kind of go back and forth because I'm biased, I know that I'm inclined to like the white one, but then I'm like, is the colored one actually better? But I don't think so. I think the white ones are better. Next up, we have Name of the Wind. And technically, this could be on the good cover changes list because I really am not a fan of the old cover where he's shirtless and he's got his instrument and everything. I'm not really a fan of that one, but I'm referring to the really kind of creepy looking one. That one's cool. I like that one a lot. I think that the colors are really interesting. They're dark, but they still have, there's still a difference in color from like one part to the next. I just think it's a really interesting cover, and to me, I'm intrigued when I see that cover. However, the normal one that you see in bookstores now is so basic, and there's nothing about it that I'm a fan of. I've mentioned this cover before because the German edition I like a lot more, and I mentioned it in my US versus German covers video. But this one is just, the colors are, they're moody, but they're not intriguing, and that could be the cover to anything. It's too, I like basic also. I have to admit, I don't mind when things are really sleek and there's not hardly anything going on, or a really generic, like, it's a sword. If it looks nice, it looks nice. But this one, it looks like a stock image. The next one, I think, is going to be possibly the one that people disagree with me on the most, which is totally fine. I might even kind of sort of disagree with myself, but it taps into another thing that I see happen that drives me crazy. It's another pet peeve. But that would be An Ember in the Ashes by Sabrina. The original covers were kind of basic. I don't know that it really represented the story very much, but I was okay with them. And then they got a cover change. And I will say, I love the color scheme of the cover changes. And I think the spines look real nice when you see them on the shelf all together, especially now the last one. The purple one has been revealed. I mean, I think that the spines are really beautiful. And again, the colors are really nice. And they're definitely eye-catching. But I, first off, hate when they get cover changes before the series is done, because that means people that got the originals will then either have to keep going with totally different covers, because they are very different. They either have to keep going with totally different covers, or they gotta buy all the rest of them. I mean, you don't have to do any of that, but I get frustrated when they do that. It's a pet peeve. I know it's a pet peeve for a lot of you guys too, but the thing about the new ones that I don't totally love is I don't mind people on the covers when they look like really cool drawings or paintings, and these, it's like, they look like real people. They might be real people. It might have been like actual models that they edited the colors and everything of them, and I don't like that as much. It reminds me of the kind of older, kind of cheesier, like vampire covers and stuff. I'm not saying this makes me think of vampires, but I feel like there was a phase in young adult especially where you had real looking people on the covers, and I've just never found myself inclined to pick up a book with that sort of a cover. I am very curious to see on this next one how many of you disagree, because I have nostalgia attached to this cover, and that would be Sabrina. I have nostalgia. I think that's what it comes down to. I think it's really cool, and I remember being a kid and seeing that cover and being like, oh, that looks really cool, and then picking up the book and having no idea what was going on because I was way too young. And then I've reread it since then, and I just never reviewed it, so I need to read it again. But somebody was nice enough to give me this, and the book is the newer edition. And the newer edition, I think that it's probably, I mean, it's fairly consistent with the entirety of the series, but the old ones also looked really cool because the girl looks all creepy on the covers, and I just think it fit because it's a necromancer. That's kind of the thing in the story, and I feel like the old covers are creepy, and they fit that vibe, and the newer ones are, I mean, they're kind of basic, and again, I don't always hate basic, but I think I just like the other ones a little bit more. Next up, we have another cover change that is tied to hardback to paperback, and that would be Warcross by Marie Lu. So this time, kind of more like the Poppy War, it's a color difference. We started with white, but a super colorful font, and I think it looks so cool, especially because it's a shiny cover, and the colors on the shiny cover I think look really nice. But then they went with this like sleek silver color, and I think if I saw the book on its own and I'd never seen the other one, I don't know that I would have thought too much about it, but the other one just doesn't stand out as much to me. The really colorful one, I think you take a risk when you go super colorful, but man, I think they succeeded in that risk because I think it looks awesome. And last on the list would be Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, and I want to start by saying I feel like with the American editions, I don't know that we've ever really gotten a cover that does these books justice. The young adult copies that have come out, the first two I'm down with, and then the last one, she looks like a baby. She looks like a little kid. It's like she's aging in reverse in those covers, and I'm really not a fan of them at all. I mean, the first one's really cool. Second one, I'm like, okay, it's slightly different style, but all right. And then that last one, man. So I'm not a fan of those. And I'm not really a fan of the ones that were out for a long time that you would see at bookstores, which is Vin looking like kind of off forward, which wasn't the worst cover ever. It had some detail from the books that I was okay with. The second one, I was a little too busy, I think. But then the third one is like cheesy and blah, and I just am not a fan. So I feel like those kind of progressively weren't the greatest. And so they've gotten a cover change again since then. And the new ones, I mean, what I'm getting at is the ones I like the most for the American editions are the old ones. The old ones look like paintings, and there's a lot going on, but the colors, while there is a lot of color, it's muted, and I think they're really cool. I think they legitimately look like paintings, and I like them all together. I just like those ones the most, and I feel like every time we've gotten a cover change since then, it's never been quite as cool as those originals. That's it for some cover changes that I think maybe weren't that great cover changes. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all later.